Here's my computer build. I'm building a new PC for audio and video editing, for work, basic accounting stuff, and basic word processing, Microsoft Office stuff. So on that end of it, it's going to be a little bit extreme, but on the audio video editing, it may be actually lacking a little bit. But before I go too crazy, I just wanted to be able to live within my budget and make sure I was getting a computer that fit within the $1,500–1,600 range. So I had to skimp a little bit on hard drives, and I only have 2 hard drives. We'll get into that here in a second, but let's go over some of the things that I bought that were no-brainers. The cooling for the CPU. So it seemed like the H100i was something that everybody had high regard for. Processor, Intel i7 4770K, so this is the unlocked version. I think it's 3.5 gigahertz stock, and then you can overclock it from the solid state drive that I got. This Samsung 840 Pro series comes in a couple different memory sizes. This one's the 256 gigabyte. Didn't find too many complaints about this. And the next thing would be the Fractal Design Define R4 case. It was, in my opinion, also no-brainer. There were very few people, if any at all, that had complaints about it, and it seemed like, with the exception of not having an SD slot, I believe, on the case, it had pretty much everything that I need. So it's down here, you can't see it, but you'll see it here in a second when I put it up here and start assembling it. And I think that was about it as far as the no-brainers. The coolant system, the hard drive for the operating system, the processor to use, and the case were pretty much things that I didn't have to think on. Z87 Deluxe Quad, Asus, MSI, Gigabit, they all seem to have relatively comparable reviews as far as qualities, functions, and features. This particular one happened to have some of the features that I wanted. So I'm going from a Mac to a PC, so I had some Thunderbolt peripherals. This particular motherboard supports Thunderbolt 2, which is 20 gigabits of bandwidth per channel. This happens to have 2 ports and supports up to 6 devices for each Thunderbolt port. A couple other features: 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, which was kind of nice. All the other stuff as far as socket and RAM and USB 3.0, USB 2.0, the number of internal SATA sockets that it had, that type of stuff. It seemed like all the motherboards were going to have their own variation of how many you need, where they're at, and all that. Now, this particular motherboard does have some things that I'll probably never use. One of them was near field communication. It comes actually with a near field communication reader and an actual key fob as well too. So if I ever wanted to have my password on the key fob, just walk up to the computer, set it down on the reader, and actually have it boot up or get past passwords with that. I guess that would kind of be nice. It's probably not a feature I'm going to use. It does have the newer wireless standard, which is, I believe, 802.11ac. I don't have a router that supports that. The router that I have is an N, but it does have the dual channel antenna actually already included in this, and a couple other things like that. And if we didn't already talk about the RAM, I'm just going to use 16 gigabit. My board supports up to 32 if I ever need it. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM on my Mac, and it seems like that's more than enough. Hard drive wise, it's just a 3 terabyte Seagate hard drive. As far as operating system goes, I used Windows 8.1. I do have a version of 7 Pro 64-bit if I do need to go back to that. Some of the peripherals that I bought, a Blu-ray burner, nothing special. It was just an OEM LG burner. I need an SD port on the front because the camera that I use takes SD cards. I also like the fact that this had a couple USB 3.0 ports on the front, USB 2.0 ports on the front, and an XD port actually on it, because XD is one of the memory formats that I'm still using for my camera. This particular power supply seemed like it was more than fine, and there were a couple people that had actually used this. I think Dave Dugdale used this on his video computer after he tried a Corsair, and he was happy with it. A couple other things that I just happened to buy from Newegg. was they had it on sale, so I couldn't pass it up. Up until this point, I used Sony Vegas Movie Studio Platinum, and I think I had it was 12 or 13, whichever the one went from 32 to 64-bit. I have the 64-bit. I think that's 12. I was happy with it. The only thing that I didn't like about it was the audio was only 16-bit 44.1. With this, I get I think 2496 or possibly 192. 24-bit 96 is completely fine. And then I just bought some Blu-ray DVDs, and this is what I'm actually going to use to archive all my videos and everything from my scratch drive. Proposals, quotes, I'll store that locally, and then all my videos and stuff, which once I edit them, I'm pretty much done with it, and I just need to archive them. So let's take the motherboard out, take the processor out, and put that together.